A stark warning from a top U.S. military general of a coming war with China. Four-star Army General Mike Minihan telling his Air Mobility Command service members in a memo, quote, "I hope I am wrong. My gut tells me we will fight in 2025. Xi secured his third term and set his war council in October of 2022. Taiwan's presidential elections are in 2024, and Xi will offer a reason. The United States presidential elections are in 2024 and will offer Xi a distracted America." The general responsible for the 50,000-person unit in the Air Force also telling the troops, quote, "If you are comfortable in your approach to training, you're not taking enough risk." I want to bring in retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. He has more than 20 years active service and is a senior fellow at Defense Priorities, a military think tank. So, Colonel, at times leaders have to motivate their troops. Is this just a case of that, or do you think there's more to this? Do you think he was being honest?
Yeah, for sure. That's a requirement. I remember when I was in the 2nd Armored Cavalry Squadron patrolling the east-west border during the Cold War of the East and West Germany, and any time the Soviet Union could potentially have come across, and we constantly kept at the forefront of our ideas and our mind and our training that this could be real at any time. So that's ordinary and normal. This one, though, does seem to be a little oddly specific, especially talking about how to take your personal weapon and shoot for the head because things seem to be, coming to a head. It just seemed a little more specific than what you would typically expect.
He also said this on that point, and tell me if this is normal. General Minihan apparently told his forces, quote, "Consider their personal affairs and whether a visit should be scheduled with their servicing base legal office to ensure they are legally ready and prepared." He also told them to update their emergency contacts and essentially get their personal affairs in order. It sounds like someone who's ready for a war.
Well, again, that's very specific, and I specifically remember before I deployed into my first combat zone that's exactly what we did. We got all those things done, and we saw all the lawyers and got our wills updated and all those kinds of things. Those are things you do when you're getting ready to deploy into a combat zone. It's not something you ordinarily do, and the fact that he brought that up, again, it just makes you wonder if he knows some more than what he's telling.
This memo has made headlines all over the world. For sure, China is looking at this as well. So my question to you is, do you think the tensions between China, the U.S., and Taiwan there in the middle, are they at an all-time low? And do you think that we are getting to a point now where a possible war with China is inevitable?
Well, it certainly is not inevitable, and we need to make certain that it's not inevitable. But there's no doubt that the tensions are about as high as any time that I've seen in my lifetime, and that's really from all sides. You see China continuing to amp up what it's doing. You see the United States increasing its presence in the Middle East. We have designated China as the pacing threat, which basically calls them the enemy. We're increasing the number of troops we have even closer in there, into Guam, into Japan, into several other places in the area there. So, of course, China's responding to all that, and it just feels like that we're kind of, tit for tat, both sides kind of amping up, and we definitely need to cool the tensions here because there is nothing in Taiwan that's worth the potential of losing thousands of American service members or ships being sunk and airplanes being knocked out of the sky, all of which would happen if we go to war with China over Taiwan. And that's something we have to avoid because Taiwan is not a treaty ally like South Korea and Japan are. And, just like in the Europe where we're helping Kiev defend against Russia, we can help Taiwan, and we should. But we should not enter into a war against nuclear-armed China.
Yeah, the idea of two superpowers facing off is incredibly dangerous and scary, and hopefully we don't get to that point. Okay, we want to thank you so much, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. Thank you for joining Top Story.